Final Fantasy. How much do you think that plastic disc costs?
$1, maybe?
Not even $1.
It's like
About 10 to 15 cents because of volume, okay? How much do you suppose the artwork costs them?
$1.
Not very much, because you know what? They commission the art and it now belongs to them so they can reproduce it. So how much do you think that paper, that printing
about a nickel maybe.
It isn't much, you know what? And then they sell it to you for how much?
$60.
Oh.
Right, and how much of that do we get?
Hardly any.
Zilch. In other words, it doesn't cost them much to produce and market and sell all this stuff, and they make a mint off of it, and they've been doing so for decades, and we don't get a dime, even though they're making money off of us. Again, that's one of the ugly parts of the business. I call it for business and pleasure because, yeah, there are parts about it that I like to talk about that are fun. We get to step up in front of a microphone and go crazy sometimes. We get to keep on doing things like Digimon and playing characters like that, which are a lot of fun. I have the great joy of working a lot of times with performers and directors and producers, all of whom are also voice actors with me, and we all are on the same page, and we have a fantastic time. We go in and just sometimes go nuts. The stuff we did on Cowboy Bebop, how many Bebop fans here? Oh, good, nice showing. I have pictures of Punch, by the way, when you come by the, for sale at the autograph table, pictures of me as Punch. Hello. One of us, one of us. You guys know that chant, right?
Yes, one of us, one of us.
Yeah, I did, the first time I did BroCon in Ireland, which was in 2014. They're a fairly new con, and they don't know the American con customs. Because every country, I should have its own custom and culture. And so I started teaching them, you know, one of us. So in Ireland they're doing that, and then I told them the story of man sex. You guys all know how that worked?
Yeah.
I don't know exactly where it started. Maybe you can help me out there. I don't know
It started
exactly
with
where
a
it was,
comic in like 2008.
yeah, it was like
It probably started on YouTube.
a comic dub or something like that, but somebody actually had them where somebody was calling Xemnes man sex.
They had a comic series of Xemnes' pages, and it was taking place during that, and it was all just really, really, really bad misadventures
Okay.
of the Organization 13, and that's where man sex came from.
Okay. Yeah, because I started telling them about that in Ireland, and they didn't know that story either. So by the time I finished that con, I would walk into any panel room, any place, any vendor room, whatever, and all of us just started going, man, sex, man, sex. Of course, there they said it like this, 9-6, 9-6, 9-6. And then last year I went for my first time to a con in Australia. And I went to Darwin, and this is up on the northern coast of Australia, in what is basically the tropical part. Not you know, you think of the outback and the giant Komodo dragons and crap like that they have out there, but they also have a very, very tropical area there in the north. So I went up to that, and I was doing the same thing. I was teaching them one of us. Because, and this was a brand new con. Now Darwin is far enough away from everything else, like the cons they have in Perth and Adelaide. And, thank you so much. Ben, a man here, right there, everybody. One of those who make these things possible, because believe me, without them, I'm not here.
Exactly.
I promise you, I'm not here. Like you guys as my fans, I'm not here without you. And I try to never let myself forget that. Some actors do. Big mistake. You know. The fact of the matter is, without the fans, without you guys playing the games and watching the shows and following us all these years, we're no place at all. So thank you. No, don't clap. That's the sound of one hand clapping. Exactly. That used to be this deep philosophical question, but what is the sound of, well, let's say I went like, let me do it twice, and it's left and right, you know, there we go, ambidextrous, you know? So that's a deeper philosophy. Anyway, I went to Australia, and this is a brand new con, and they didn't know, again, a lot of the con customs, so I taught them one of us, and they did a good job. It was their first year, they had 1,000 people. And again, Darwin is so far away from the other places that a lot of people that want to go to cons can't. That's a gigantic continent. That's not just a country, it's a continent.
Yep.
So if you want to go to a con, and the closest one is 500 miles away, it sort of, inhibits you. So they had this great turnout because there's a large community that wants to cosplay, and they want to do panels, and they want to do all this stuff. And everything's so far away, so we had a great turnout. But I was giving them all the American customs. I talk them about man sex, you know. Now, around there, in their part of the world, they say man six, you know. So that's the way they sounded when they did it. So again, all part of the pleasure and the fun. We do have a great time doing this. And when you are watching us in these panels, like when Josh and Steve Prince and I do All Things Digimon tomorrow, we'll be telling you about the stories and the fun we had doing those things. It is a lot to attract you, but when I ask people about doing it, how many of you thought about it at least in passing as something you'd like to do, as a job, as a living or whatever, at times? Yeah, and I know, growing up watching cartoons, I used to run home at 4 o'clock in the afternoon from the school, which was like a block and a half from where I lived. I'd tear home so I could sit down in front of the TV right at 4 o'clock and watch Kimba the White Lion, you know. And I was like a lot of kids at the time. I know a lot of my family, with a lot of kids. We would watch and try to do the voices. And so I was doing that. I was convinced I sounded exactly like Underdog. I thought I had that voice down, man. Kimba the White Lion, one of my favorite characters was Daniel the Baboon. And I remembered the voice, and then some, like, 3 years ago, I said, when did you start? Well, back in 19... well, it used to be 1879? We didn't have studios then, we recorded in a covered wagon. There was no light.
It's like we had to read our script by candlelight.
The snow uphill both ways.
Uphill both barefoot. We were blind. We were happy. I ate my own toes. Don't get an improv actor improving. So how the hell did I get on that line there?
Talking about cartoons.
Oh yeah, with Kimba. Now some years, many years later, I got a call from a director. I had worked with him on one project. He was very impressed with what I did, and he called me up and said, "Hey, we're going to be doing this new project, and it's an old anime. And they do this once in a while. They try to bring an old one back. The episodes are extant, as they say. They're kind of there. You don't have to go and get the anime done. It says, do that. Do you want to bring it in under the new technology and revoice it, that sort of thing?" He said. So Raymond, we have this one we want to do. We're going to do a pilot, see if we can bring it back. It's Kimba the White Lion. I'm like, and we want you to play Daniel. And I even remember the voice. That's what Daniel sounded like. Well, I know that's wrong, but that's the law of the jungle. The weak perish and the strong, you know. And that's the way Daniel sounded. So I got to go in and do it. And it was like great. And of course, they didn't pick up the pilot. I've done many, many good shows. And again, this is a business part of it. You have to be ready. A lot of the disappointment. You will do a lot of work that just doesn't see the light of day. I did a wonderful series, one of the funniest series as far as the scripts go. And some of the funniest anime. There's a show called The Adventures of Zoe and Charlie.
Get back here.
Get back in here. I'm not disappointed. There we go again.
Facing disappointment.
Facing disappointment, yeah, that's an everyday. Or as we say among stage actors, disappointment is the fourth meal of every day. For some of us, it's the third because we didn't get to. And that's not the uphill both ways, that's the reality. You know? You hear about people eating a lot of ramen noodles?
Yeah.
That's how I started. Many of the things you do will not, again, as I say, see the light of day. The Adventures of Zoe and Charlie was just wonderfully fun stuff. Terrific. It was also apropos to the time, which was in the late 90s, when they said, oh my God, we have to have a whole lot more television programming. that is better for kids, and it's educational and all that, and no TV stations had enough. So we were at Saban at the time, and they brought the show, and we gotta get the first episodes done, like right in 5 days, we gotta get them done. So we came in on Sunday, the only time I've ever done anime on Sunday. I got paid double, you know. And we're like busting our butts to get all this stuff done, and then doesn't play. We're watching, doesn't play. We're asking, doesn't play. And to this day, over 20 years later, somewhere, someplace on a shelf in a dark room gathering dust are the episodes of The Avengers of Zoe and Charlie. I don't know why they wouldn't put that show up. It was great. It had to do with, 3 meals a day, stick by your friends, all these wonderful positive messages that you're supposed to have in kids program. But never ever played, ever. The people with whom I worked on that show, we all look at each other and say, especially if some other stuff comes out that's pretty awful. That got on. Can somebody grab that door, please? And actually close it too. I'll just grab it. Thank you so much. I can't really do anything about the music or whatever going on over there, but people do have a habit of standing right outside the door of the panel and just going nuts. That's great, did you hear that? Wow!
I think you're next.
Hello, I'm in here.
You're actually next to the game room, so I think they just have the volume up.
Yeah, and and that's all good, and there are times they put me in panel rooms where next door was the rave,
Yeah, wasn't that 2 years ago, actually?
That's happened here. Yeah, it was 2 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was doing a panel, and right next to me was the rave.
Yeah.
I talk about voiceover and the subtleties of voice. Well, I can't do it over that.
Just the entire time.
Yeah. The thing, I understand also they need to put us all in our different places. That's all good. It's just, I don't like it, like I say, there when people are hollering on the screen. So appreciate that getting the door there. One of the things you're going to run into as a person in this business, again, as all actors do, and especially in this, is lots and lots of disappointment. You will be auditioning and you will not get called. You will do an audition that you think is just hitting it out of the park, and not just out of the park, but past the parking lot in left field. You think you just did it, and you never hear it. I went into my agents to audition. And much of the auditions we do now are really at home. We stay at home and we set up a microphone. I've got my microphone, my popper stopper, and I go and I click and I do the reading, and then I save it as an MP3 and do the editing, send it off. That's how most of this works now. We don't drive to the auditions very often. You'll be at home and you will kick butt. Oh my God, I gave them everything they wanted. Never hear anything. So I go to my agents to do an audition, and I can't remember what the project was for. But she said, I need you to come into my office to do this one. I said, okay. Now, my original demo I played for her was the very first one I did, a long, long time ago. It's 2 hours, 2 minutes and 37 seconds long. In those days, they were long demos. That's what they wanted. If you had a lot of stuff to do, put a good representation on that. Now it's a minute or less. They don't want a lot. Let us hear your voice. At most, give us 1 or 2 other characters. We just want to hear you. So, okay. But I played my original demo, so she heard 20 of the voices, dialects, accents, and characters that I do in a row. On my demo, it was like a Rorschach test. And because I did so many, my instructor, is an incredible guy named M.G. Kelly, he was putting together for all of us, you do a 6-week workshop with him, and at the end of the 6 weeks, you do your demo. And during that time, he can measure what you do well, and you'll come up with ideas, or you come up with ideas, and then you do your demo. And he worked at CBS, so he got to go into their big studio and do all this stuff, and access to unlimited sound effects and all that. So he put together this great demo. He said to me, what you should do with all those is do a Rorschach test, and do your different accents and dialects and characters reacting to the look of an ink blot. I thought, well, what a fantastic idea. So I went ahead and I did 20 characters in a row. And actually did that live for them in the workshop. I didn't do them, with the editing, of course. But I went voice after voice, character after character, accent, dialect, all that stuff, one after another. And they all went like that. Then when I got it done with all of the editing, it sounded really terrific. It was just like bam, 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 one after another. My agent had heard that, but she'd never heard a lot of the other voices I do because I don't have them all on there, you know. I went in to do this audition and it was supposed to be this demonic, monstrous, scary type of thing, right? Which is one of my stock voices. I just have it ready all the time. So she was sitting probably from you to me, roughly. But she had her back to me and she was doing the whole brochables, things like that. And I was here and I was reading. And the poor thing. A lot of people don't know, you know, they don't know the stuff I do, or they're not used to it, especially hearing a human being make the sounds I do. I was reading the stuff, and the copy was along the lines of, "You shall be destroyed. I will find you bones," and stuff like that. And I finished, and she turned around and she said, "If they don't hire you to do this job, they are a bunch of idiots." And she turned back to the keyboard and went. And I realized, oh, that's right, she hasn't heard me do that voice. And what happened again?
They didn't sign it.
Didn't hear a silver one.
There are a bunch of videos.
Which proves there are a bunch of idiots too.
Yeah.
Now, one thing to deal with the frustration is understand that you can do as much as you can do, and then you have to let go of it. I did an audition, I guess it was now 3 days ago, at a studio where they did have me come in person. And this is a studio where they call you in and they give you the stuff and you have 5 minutes. It's old style. Now they send you the files and it's by Hightail if they want to send you a bunch of files together. But a lot of times it's just an email with 1 or 2 audition pieces. You print it out, you get to work on it. We need this by... Don't mind me.
Please, come in, come in.
Oh, yes.
Come in. One of us, one of us, one of us.
Yeah.
One of us.
Yes, yes, that's
Yes.
him. That's
He's
him.
me.
Take a
Sit,
seat.
sit, sit.
Take a seat.
See,
This
Jerry's
this is going to be
pointing,
fun.
he says, "Are you him?" I have Xemnes, Xemnes is I. So I go in to do this audition, and this is at a studio called Cup of Tea. And again, they do it kind of old style. If they can bring you in person, they will, and I prefer that. Because here's the problem. When you guys, again, when I say you have to send it out and just let go of it, okay, as smart people in this business, don't sit and fret about it, wait by the phone, and check your email every 2 minutes. I haven't heard. I'm supposed to get this role. I'm keeping the next 3 years open just to work on the show. You have to kind of let it go. Now, I go into this studio, and the great thing about it is, unlike at home where you make all the choices and you send it off, and then you cross your fingers that you did something they're going to like, when you go into the studio, they can give you feedback. They can say, all right, a little too fast, or you botched this part. You know, there are times when I'll make a little mistake with a word or a pronunciation where the rest of the tape is really good. I'll let it go out there, okay? But they will stop sometimes. Other times it's like, that wasn't bad, and the rest of it was wow. So I went in and I read for 3 different roles. I did, let's see, one was kind of Xemnes sounding in the sense that he was once this great leader, but now he's a martial arts instructor. Because, you know, and then they give you a background like, well, then something happened, and now he's not the king anymore, but he's this and that. So I did that. I did my stock old man, because there was this one part where, you know, it's, well, yes, you have to remember in those days this and that happened. And then when the rain from the killer dragons came down and all the praying mantises died and Buffy started directing traffic, well, then you see what I mean? Don't get up to the improv acting. I blurt this stupid thing off the top of my head.
Crazy old man.
But, so I was doing that, and then of course I had my other stock voice, which is this one. And the prison commander of a place called Cassandra. The legend of Cassandra is my legend. I forget the name of the character. They didn't have a single correction for me in all 3 takes with all 3 characters. Now what are the chances? Probably I'll never hear anything. Okay, so when I tell you guys, again, the business of voice acting, You can only do so much. You can put down what you put down. You can give it your best shot. You can do the best audition of anyone who even submits. I don't mean just yours. Maybe your audition was better than anybody else's, but there's something about somebody else's voice that they liked better. So that you did the best acting job, they were after a different sound. You have to learn to let go of that crap. Most of the time you don't hear it. Another frustration, by the way. You send the audition and you just never hear anything. And so one ex-girlfriend, she's real, but anyway. I recorded a bunch of auditions, sent them off. She goes, okay, well, how soon will you know? I said, well, if I'm cast, I'll know within probably a few days or a week. Typically, you find out quickly, okay? Just as business people in this industry, however, just be ready for the fact that they move at their own timetable. Usually they take all the time in the world and then they wonder why you can't get something done and have it done tomorrow. Or why isn't it done yesterday? Okay? So be ready for that. That's true of any business, but especially in this one. And they'll actually get on the phone and start acting like they're angry with you. They're giving you the material for the first time and they're acting like they're angry with you already. You know? It is that bad sometimes. And, what do you mean you can't do it until tomorrow afternoon? I'm finding out right now you're giving me about 15 hours of lead time. And you told me about the audition 3 weeks ago. Leaving us.
So feel get ready for a ball.
Okay, I still love you. But not as much. Now that's why my ex-girlfriend left me. No, she was a PB, and I'll tell you what those mean later. Or you can probably figure it out yourself. The P is silent in the first word. Anyway, it sounds like it's part of the business you have to watch out for. So what you need to do is be ready to have your work go out there into the ether, out there into the world, into the universe, and disappear forever. Here's the way to handle that. Have something else, no matter what it is, to move to. I guess, I have to remember, I flew here, I flew here on Thursday, that's yesterday. So Wednesday, I went in to do a voice job on a show called Wyrmon. It's a French anime. Any of Miraculous Ladybug fans in here?
I've seen one episode.
Okay, yeah, not as
started.
many people know about it. Miraculous and also Wyrmon and another thing I worked on are French anime. There's more of it coming out now. And they're not trying to take over from Japan or something like that, but it's kind of catching on. They're coming up with these ideas. And it's kind of fun because the anime is a completely different style. You notice how you can tell the difference if you're watching, say, Digimon, as opposed to, say, Samurai Jack.
Yeah.
Samurai Jack has a look, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
love that show.
Artwork
The
is
look is
completely different.
Yeah, there's something sharp about it. Not necessarily unfriendly, but there's something very sharp about that show, you know. When I did this session on Wyrmon, they said they want me to come back for 4 hours on Tuesday. Then they rescheduled me for Tuesday night. 15 seconds later, they said, oh, also we have something else next week, or maybe the week after, we want you to come in and work on 3% for Netflix. Okay? So stuff comes in. Other times you send it out, and it's just dead silence. You're looking out over a desert, and there's not even any wind to stir anything. You just
Not even a tumbleweed.
what the hell would it take, you know? Be ready for that. You will get to the point when you work on this stuff and practice it, your level of skill, whatever that is, like if yours was younger guys, okay, a younger sound, but more dramatic, as opposed to yours might be a younger sound, and you're the funny girl that makes all the other people go nuts. That's that's what happens. You're the one that always has the wisecrack. Okay, that's your style. That's your style. So you practice and work, and you get very, very, very good at your style. And again, you might even be the best. But never take it personally. One of the hardest things you can do as an actor is try to let go of the fact that it isn't personal. Everybody wants to hang on to that. Well, they don't like me. What does it take? Who do I got to sleep with, as the old saying goes. Or in my case, who do I have to stop sleeping with? I'm kidding. I never sleep with.
Sleep? What sleep?
Everybody, by the way, Mr. Brown, cappuccino, make sure to go over to the Maid Cafe. I can have it now, it's warming up. I thought they were actually going to pour me a hot thing. Salud.
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 Caffeine, I must have it. So, the example I like to use best is the agent that I met when I was doing an improv workshop. This was called sitcom improv, okay? Anybody done improv in college, high school, that sort of thing? Okay. Yeah, there are in fact many styles of improv, and people think, well, you just get up and be funny or something like that. This one was specifically sitcom style, okay? This instructor, the late great Bill Hudnut, had this workshop, and he actually trained actors to do improv, but in the style of a sitcom. Now, you really see the difference once you know what to look for and what a sitcom is like, as opposed to improv of another kind. And believe me, I've improved in 4 other languages. I've improved in Shakespeare. When I tell you there are different styles, believe me, there are different styles. This one, and Bill talked about this, he said, everybody go home, and you don't have to do this like a big workshop or something like that, but just use your, no taping please. All right. Go ahead and just get a pencil and paper, and just, yeah. It's okay to take pictures, but no taping please. I should announce that, I didn't. Yeah. It's, these guys are okay.
Yeah, we're press.
Yeah, and that's it, it's a press and that sort of thing. Yeah, so Bill actually said, look, what you do is get a pencil and paper, go home and listen to an improv, and every time you hear a question, put a hash mark, or check, something like that, something you can count. So way back then, there was all a bunch of, like now, there's a bunch of sitcoms, but there were even more back then. There was one called Golden Girls. Oh. Yeah. So I chose that, just out of the blue. I didn't really like the show that much, and there was a lot about it that irritated me. But I thought I'd just go ahead and pick the first one I can get my hands on. So I sat and I watched, and I was checking off and checking off and checking off and checking off. And the following week, Bill said, okay, how many people did the homework assignment? You know, and he started pointing to people and said, what did you do? Empty house, how many? 31, blah, 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 29, blah, blah, and pointed at me. I said, Golden Girls, 55. Now, next time you guys watch a sitcom, watch what happens. Sitcom scripts are driven by questions. You don't realize it until you watch it. His kind of improv, that style, was driven on the questions. So when I get up and I do Shakespeare, for instance, and first line, last line, okay? First line must be a line from Shakespeare. The final line has to be a line from Shakespeare, and in between you have to have a scene with a beginning, a middle, and an end, and it has to be in Shakespearean style. So you're not saying lines from Shakespeare necessarily, but good sir, thou hast this, and you know, and Zoons man, you know, and stuff like that, and then you have to finish up. So that's a different style of improv. All these things actually drive you as an actor. There are things that you have to do and know and study. And again, even no matter how good you can be, things don't work out and you can get frustrated. See, Bill brought this guy in who was an agent. He said he was once an actor, but he was an agent now. And the best advice I got as a businessman, but especially as an actor, was from this agent. He said, remember that when you have an audition or you have a job, it's in your hands. You can do this, you can manipulate, you can change, you can hire, lower, you can do all this stuff. Once the audition's over or the job is over, it's not in your hands anymore. So don't keep grabbing at it. It's gone. Don't keep grabbing. It's gone. Let go of it. And then somebody asked, well, what stopped you being an actor? He said, I couldn't take that advice. It wasn't as if he heard that from someone else and he gives that advice now, but somebody told him to let go. But he said, I couldn't take that advice. I got so stressed out, and I took it personally that I burned out. That's why I say, don't take it personally, and I like to add to that even further. These are people auditioning you that don't know you well enough or don't know you all. How could they possibly have anything against you? They don't know you. They don't know you to hurt you. They don't know enough to push your buttons. They are there to get a job done. They're there to audition. They're cordial. Sometimes they're real nice. You will go in and you'll feel like you just, as I say, knocked it out of the park. Hit a home run.
One of us.
Please, come, sit, join us.
Sit.
I'm just wearing the shirt, everybody's calling me Connor.
Well, dude, jeans, black shirt, that is the costume.
Yeah,
You got
yeah.
the hair going.
It's.
Oh, I like hearing this man talk, it's nice.
Well, then shut up and listen, all right? Somebody comes into the room and I go, where the hell have you been? Well, you sit down. Thank God you've arrived. I don't know what to think. I said, well, when it comes to me, just remember silliness is the rule. Another way I keep myself sane. Give you a chance to be nuts. Do it all the time. You know, I walk around home and my poor neighbors, they hear me laughing about, they know I live alone, you know, cracking up about stupid things. Like something I blurted out but typing on my Facebook. I said, Omni Fandom Expo this weekend, be there or get on my poop list. I hadn't even planned to do that, I just wanted to type it on my poop list. So it's out there. I mentioned the part about taking it personally and really don't. Because as I said before, these are people that don't know who you are. They've never met you before. You will audition for a lot of the same people. In my business, I audition for a lot of the same people all the time. There are approximately nationwide 160,000 people in SAG-AFTRA. All right? The number of people that effectively do the work that I do is in the low hundreds. So when we say in show business it's a small world, you will see a lot of the same people again and again. There are scads of us actors, but only a certain number that go up for commercials. I used to go up for these spots for commercials and TV shows, and there was another guy that seemed to be there a lot of the time I was. He was a young Asian guy, and I'm a not so young old white guy. I used to see Victor all the time. Hey Victor, how you doing? You just get to know people. It is a small world. In voiceover, when I go on an audition, if there are 15 names on the list, and I'm one of them, I know 13. There might be one new person on there. It's a tiny world. The people against whom I compete are world class. I tell people in my panels how hard I work and how I train and how I practice, all the skills I've developed over the years. I have to be that good because I'm up against people that are razor sharp. I cannot be less. And that's again, business, business, business. Get back to the pleasure part. The best thing about what I do, while it's fun to do the work and it's nice when you get paid, and nice when you get paid a lot for less than a minute in front of a microphone, the best part of my business really has been the people that I've met, the ones with whom I've gotten to work, friends that I've gotten to know over the years, friends that have passed, and those that we get together with and have a party. Sunday night I went to a friend's house for the Oscar party, and 90% of the people in the house I knew. 80, 90 people in the house, I knew almost everybody. We've known each other over the decades, and all the work we've done together. That is the best part. And as one reason, as I say, not to get so frustrated, make sure that you focus on that. Focus on the fact that you're going to be working with people. Now, if you don't book work and you don't get any place and all that stuff, don't keep doing it if you're going to frustrate yourself, all right? Find a way to take care of yourself, so if you want to do this and it's only as kind of a hobby, or you know you aren't going to be making any sort of a real living at it, make sure you can do something else where you pay the bills. I will tell you specifically, I've lived with money and I've lived without money. With is a lot better. I guarantee it. Everybody, give me a high five. I'm about to write a check for $89 and change, and my house will be paid off. Slap, 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 slap. Double, double. So it'll be done. That's going to be gone. I'm going to own my home. That's an unknown human being or creature of any kind in Los Angeles that actually owns their house. Like nobody. Only about 8% of people living in Los Angeles can afford to have a house. Imagine that 8% of, 9 million people. And then imagine the tiny, 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 minuscule percentage point of people that actually own a home. The thing is, you buy a house and 6 years later you start over again with another house. You're you're on the treadmill for 30 years and 30 years and 30 years. It just keeps going. I figured, why don't I just go ahead and pay this off, and now I can sell it and go where I want, do what I want to do, whatever the case, or stay there. Take care of the business end of your life so that you can be either in a position to buy a house or comfortably live in an apartment or whatever you want to do. Do not rely upon acting and performing to keep you happy. It will not. There's no happiness and satisfaction in that. I get satisfaction from my work, but if this was supposed to be the point of my life, God, did I make a huge mistake. There are higher things and better things, so try and keep it in perspective. Learn to walk away. Everybody understand that? What I said earlier about letting go? Okay? It's not in my hands anymore, why am I still grabbing for it? One of the funniest sayings for commercial actors, make sure your audition, the best audition you did, is not in the car driving home. Should have done it that way. Because that happens, it occurs to you. Most of the time when I look at copy now, again, my skill level being what it is and the number of years that I've had to train, practice, and refine and hone my craft and all the other things that come into it, like the audition the other day when I had 3 roles to read and I did all 3 of them, everybody over 18? Everybody over 18?
Yeah, I'm over here.
I'm 18. Hey, and that's the real question.
Anybody under 18? Okay, good.
I think you say.
Okay, so I can say, I felt like I did a kick-ass job on all of them. Or kick butt, you know. A lot of times it's, oh, I'm 16. I'm making an honorary 18-year-old. Shit, you know. You have to make sure that you don't have that experience where you were not present enough and not balanced enough and not professional enough to see the good audition on the paperwork or that crappy thing that they wrote and you had to make something good out of it. Okay. By the way, one very good thing to remember in this business, whatever you're reading for is as good as the Bible. It's scripture, okay? It's Gone with the Wind. It's anything classic as Shakespeare, no matter how bad it is. 2 reasons. First of all, you have to make it good. Second reason, and most important reason, the writer's probably there. Don't say this sucks. My instructor, M.G. Kelly, when he talked about it one time, he said, I was auditioning, I was trying to make this thing work, and the director, and I said, yeah, you know, this isn't very well written, isn't it? You know? And the director is sitting right next to the writer. Suffice it to say, I didn't get cast in that role, so whatever you're reading is excellent. Never forget that. And I even came up with a great compliment. No matter what it is, this compliment works. I'll be reading and working through the material, and I say that. I said, yeah, you know, and this material is very, very straightforward. I want to make sure we honor that. And I have something on my face too. And I did inadvertently do the right thing one time. I had driven all the way down to Orange County to work on this project. And there's a Japanese writer, first name is Nobu, and I see him around a lot of different projects, and I give him crap, he gives me crap all the time. We have that kind of fun relationship. So I had not met him before. He was in this session, and so he's out there with the director. One of the clients from Japan was there. The engineer was there, and I think one other person. And I'm in the booth, and we're doing this stuff, and I came out, and the director said, thank you, you really did a great job with it. I said, well, you know what, and all this time, it turned out to be Nobu was out there, and he was on his laptop, all this stuff. And so I don't know what he's writing about, and I don't know him, I haven't met him before. When I came out, and they said, oh, nicely done, I said, well, thanks, the script has a lot of guts to it. And he's like, he goes, oh, thank you, so rewarding me here, oh my God, we do all this stuff and we never hear it, oh, that's wonderful. I thought, well, I said the right thing. And I was serious about it, it was a good script, Now you guys will encounter good material. Again, whether you are as actors or whatever you're doing, you will encounter good material, no matter what kind of work you're on. Appreciate that. But understand that a lot of other times, they're gonna hand you something crappy. You've gotta make it work. This thing I did the other day, it's translated from French. Okay, now I work on translations from German and Japanese and French and various other places from all over the world, okay? And a lot of times the translations are good, but many times, like the other day, they wrote the translation based on what the French meant, not the flaps on the screen that we're doing. And so as I like to explain when I did Xemnes, and the cue was this long, and the timing was this long, okay, flip that, okay? the cue was this long and the timing was this long. And so we're going to talk fast, 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 fast. And the director from France is there. And he was one of those people that just inhibits the project and help him, you know. And we were trying to make this stuff work. So when I work on it next week, I don't know, maybe we're going to have a session where we fix things. I get paid every time I go on, so I said, go ahead, screw it up all you want. Why don't you bring me back in to fix it? Happy. Now, when I talk about, you know, asking you guys in terms of what you want to do to be in voiceover and stuff like that, or just generally as actors, that sort of thing. And again, many of us think about it at least in passing or as some kind of an idea maybe in the future, or I at least thought about it. Where do you guys think you need to go?
Acting school?
Workshops?
Well, yeah, that's study, wherever you can.
Geographically or for
Geographically, where do you think you have to go?
California?
Canada.
To a degree, Canada, a little bit in Chicago,
Dallas, Texas.
a lot in New York, a fair amount in Dallas, most of it in Los Angeles, so don't forget that part. I get a lot of people that come to me and they're almost pleading and begging, is there any way I could do this and stay here in, you know, Podunk, Saskatchewan? And I say, no, sorry about that. The day will come when you're going to have to go to the big city. Sorry about that. I moved to LA from San Diego in '79. I was raised in San Diego, but I wasn't born there. I was born in North Dakota. It's my home state. Every time I go to Anime Fargo, it's family, man. I went to one of their weddings. The con chair and his girl got married in 2016. I went to the wedding. You know, it's great, you know. You will sooner or later have to go where the work is. You know why you can't just go fishing any place? You gotta go where the fish are. Sorry, they don't come to you, you know. So when it comes to the business end of this, and being in voiceover, being on camera, being on whatever, you need to go where the work is. Same if you're a print model. In other words, you model for a magazine, stuff like that, you do print work. You gotta go where the work is, and that's going to be in the big city. You know, I can't say, well, can I, you know, like move to Little Rock, Arkansas, and have everybody come there for me? No.
Nope.
You gotta go where the business is. Again, sorry about that. Now, as far as, again, when I talk about the business of this, don't take it personally. Don't let it get you down. And remember this, and this is where I talk about your responsibility. Okay? And this is your responsibility as a human being anyway. But I say this especially as actors. Thank you. I try to tell everybody this regardless of the business you're in, but especially if you're in a thankless, heartless, sometimes very, very cold business like the one I'm in. Nobody asked you to do this. You chose it. Y'all get that? Mm-hmm. Don't scream and bitch and moan and complain about how hard it is and how mean they are to you. Nobody asked you to be an actor. One of my first on stage instructors, anybody know Hogan's Heroes?
Yes.
Okay. You know Major Hochstetter?
Yep.
Not the General Burkhalter, but the Gestapo. Yeah,
Yep.
it was Howard King. He was one of my acting instructors many years ago.
Whoa.
I was one of the few actors in the workshop that actually spent the time reading the plays and doing and rehearsing with my partners. But most of the people in that were, you know, dilettantes. They just thought they would get some good tricks and learn to be good actors out of nothing, right? Well, at one point, Howard said, look, nobody asked you guys to go into the theater. And that is the truth. Nobody asked you to stay in this life either. You guys all understand that too? Right? You're here of your own choice. So don't cry because it's so hard. Or any other business because it's so difficult. Because you chose to stay. Every time I have something difficult happen to me as an actor, or I have a difficult challenge or something like that, I always step back and say, I picked it.
Yep.
There's no voice from heaven and no hand that comes down on the head and says you have to be an actor. Yes?
I just wanted to add that I think crying might not be counterproductive. It might put you in touch with your emotions to connect with acting a little bit more.
Well, sure. And as one of my other instructors, Michael Holmes, very, very good teacher, a disciple of Uta Hagen, one of the great American acting teachers, he said that acting is great therapy. And it is. Acting is very good therapy. A lot of that stuff you can't let out otherwise. You get on stage. I did a project, and I think it was shot in Germany, and it was a live thing, and I did this at the same studio where I'm doing Wyrmon and Miraculous Ladybug. But this was a live action thing, and they had me come in and play the part of a father whose daughter was missing. And during the course of the film, his younger daughter has gone out and basically made herself into an investigative reporter or something like that. And she managed to finally track down what happened and knew where her sister's body is. And she comes to tell me, the father. And then I have this scene where my character just breaks down and cries. And I mean, just weeps. And I'm in the booth and I'm there and the tears and the whole thing, I'm falling apart. I have that in me because of things that have happened in my life. So I have that stuff to work with. And that's what happens as you age, you get more stuff to work with as an actor. Okay. Trust me, there's a lot of other bad stuff that comes with aging, but because then when I turn 50, it's going to be awful.
Would you say that way? Would you say that before?
Liar, liar, pants on fire. Do I sound 55 to you guys?
Not really.
Is that a good yes?
Yes. Well, no, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, what? Was that a good 55?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Then, well seasoned, I don't know, I should take that.
Good and marinated.
The reason,
Should be coming in a minute, but I can sit up and wait.
that's the reason I asked if I sound 55, because I'm 62.
Dang.
Well, you sound 55.
Thank you.
You sound good for your age.
Sound younger than my dad.
Now, where I went in Anime Fargo, when they got married, the con chair's wife said, no, you're sexy 40. That has to do with the professional side of it, the business side of it. You need to take care of your instrument. Those of you who have read my bio, okay, I sang for 4 years with the San Diego Opera Company, 11 seasons about a Shakespeare festival. Study, 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 learn, 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 never stop. Briefly, my skill level with things that you don't think would come, come on. I've done, Xemnes. I've done Wyrmon. I've been punching Cowboy Bebop. How Shakespearean is any of that stuff, right? But with the background I have, I can do many things. And I auditioned at this one studio where the project was about what happened to European Jews, not during World War II, but between the world wars. How things changed in Russia and Europe for them. And there was one point where one of the characters I was reading was in a group of men taken out to a forest, and they were going to be executed. And the machine guns, and they were running and stuff like that. And he wrote something, and I recognized this. I recognized what he did, so I did it in my audition. And then when I got hired to do the job, I came in, I did all the work, I came out, and the one running the studio said, "You were the only one that got it." And I said, "What do you mean?" And she said, "When we heard your audition, we went, oh, that's what all that stuff means." Because what happened was the writer was talking about what happened and then would write a prose poem after. And throughout the whole thing, it was like that. There was prose poetry describing not what just happened, but what was going on with him. He was running toward the ditch, and he thought that would be the last thing he would see flashing in his mind and all this stuff. So I recognized the style of what he was doing, and I was the only one. Again, that background, that training. Train the hell out of yourself. Learn more than you need to. I'm more than equal as a speaker to any job I go in to do, because I keep myself sharp. Always be better than the material they give you. I do all these, tongue twisters and weird things and all that. And when I taught at Los Angeles Broadcasting School, we had all these difficult things, rubber baby buggy bumpers, two tall tottering totem poles, red leather, yellow leather, Amanda Bynes is a good actress. That's the hardest one to say. Who said that? Another actor told me that. It's hard to say red leather, yellow leather. It's even harder to say Amanda Bynes is a good actor. But I would teach these future broadcasters all of these difficult things. And I said, you will get on the air and they're going to hand you copy that you would think is hard to read. Trust me, do all this stuff I'm teaching you. Learn how to say 11 benevolent elephants. Black bug's blood, unique New York, drill, 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 and then when they give you that copy, that's going to be nothing compared to what you normally do every day. That's the point. Be more ready for the material that they give you. Then you make it look easy, and that's the point. Okay, we do have a couple of minutes, and I'd like to kind of just ask anybody if you have any questions, a little bit of Q&A, and then we kind of wrap up, because I just have to pick my stuff up and leave. So, yes, sir.
I have one question. Tomorrow you're going to be here, right? Again? Will you be having photos and stuff like that? Or no?
When I'm at my autograph table, come by if you want to get a selfie. You can do that, no charge.
Is that today or tomorrow?
All weekend.
Okay.
When I'm there. I know tonight we're kind of done, you know, these guys will be moving in here in a second.
Sorry.
And
Oh, that's okay, that's okay.
My other question before things go ahead.
Yes, please.
What is out of all the acting jobs that you've done, voice acting and just normal acting, what is the most you find the most enjoyment doing? I don't know.
You mean voice acting as opposed to abnormal acting? He said normal or voice acting, but I get what you mean.
Yeah.
The most fun I ever had was when I was 17 years old. I was doing theater in San Diego, and I did a melodrama called Naughty Not. Yeah. It's the most fun I've ever had, and believe me, I've had a lot of fun. There's one reason to do this, because believe me, it's not terribly rewarding otherwise. Anyone else? Yes?
I gotta ask, have they contacted you about Kingdom Hearts 3 yet?
Oh my God, no, I was not trying to ask that because I don't want to bother him about it.
No, that's okay. I've heard two things. One actor told me that it's all done, and I didn't get called. So Xemnes is not in Page 3.
Oh.
Somebody else, though, said there's been delays and there's a whole bunch of stuff that hasn't been done yet. I hope that person's right. Not just the money. I don't think it would be right for Kingdom Hearts to close out, because it's supposed to be the end of the storyline.
Yes.
Sound right? That Xemnes would be there?
My
They keep saying it's the-
There's a new trailer that had come out. And in the trailer, Xemnes was in the trailer, and he was talking about him bringing back Roxas. Like how the only way for him to bring back Roxas is if Sora kills himself again, basically, and goes into the dark to bring Roxas back.
Yeah.
And that whole scene right there got everybody crazy because we all pictured it with your voice in it, and we all felt like we were back in 2007, 2006, just crying our eyes out when we finally defeated you.
I envision myself in it too.
Dang.
One last one. Last one. You have to. Somebody has to ask her. I will not let you leave. One question. Yes.
What kind of Shakespeare plays have you done? Just
What kind of
curious.
Shakespeare plays have I done?
Yeah.
I've done about half of the canon.
What's your favorite?
Oh wow. My favorite is the tragedy Macbeth. My favorite comedy to do is A Midsummer Night's Dream. I've done 5 productions of Midsummer, 6 productions of Taming of the Shrew. Macbeth twice, Henry IV Part 1. Done quite a, Romeo and Juliet several times.
You done Hamlet?
No, I've actually done readings and radio plays of Hamlet, but I've never done a live production, unfortunately. Okay, guys, I will be back around tomorrow. Pop over to